Ad Emmen, reporting live for Premier Magazine from the ISC user forum at the Hoogleistungsrechencentrum in Stuttgart. And we're here with Andreas Wierse, who just gave a presentation here. So, welcome.
Yeah, hi Ed. So my company SICOS is in the technology transfer business. So my shareholders are the two universities, Stuttgart and Karlsruhe, and my task is to support small and medium-sized enterprises, especially in the uptake of technologies like smart data or, which is important today, high-performance computing. And usually the small companies have a kind of disadvantage compared to larger enterprises that can explore these technologies better on their own. So our task is to go out, find those companies, find out what the problems are that they have that could be solved by HPC, high-performance computing, and then provide them with the necessary knowledge. So to do so, we work with the so-called solution centers. We go out, work with associations like the Chambers of Commerce or the VDMA, Machinery Association. We are also participating in projects, European projects, especially, for example, the Fortissimo project, where we team up with other HPC centers and technology transfer partners all over Europe to work on, improve our ways to reach the SMEs and to support them. Together we've built a marketplace, a Fortissimo marketplace, which shall act like a one-stop shop so that it's very easy for the companies, if they decide to do something around HPC, to find everything they need there, like access to hardware, to the resources from the computing centers, the software, but also expertise, application knowledge, but also HPC knowledge. I presented today two examples. One is a mid-sized company, Optima Pharma. They produce machinery for clean room packaging of pharmaceutical products, and the clean room is very sensitive, so they have to make sure that the airflow inside this clean room works in a way so that there's almost no dust, whatever, where the critical packaging happens. And they used to do that, hands-on, build up everything and then test it and then rebuild it. We worked with them to do this virtually using OpenFOAM as a simulation tool, so that then they can, in parallel to the development of the machine and the construction of the machine, they can already prepare the setup, how the system will be installed at the customer. And the quality is in the meantime really good, so that in many cases a long setup and test time could be reduced to a few days and sometimes even less. The other company, Bollinger & Ohr, it's a laser welding company. It's much smaller. They have 3 employees, and they do service in laser welding. And in order to improve the process, we introduced to them simulation that allows them to check the temperature distribution in the parts they weld together in advance, so that they know how hot it can be. There was a special case where they had a heating element which was glued to the parts that were welded together, and if the temperature was too high, the heat element got damaged. So they now can simulate that. Before, they just had to test it. They welded several of those with different parameters, cut them in pieces and looked at what happens. Now everything happens virtually, which is faster and in the end even cheaper. So that proves, that we are able to get people on board, companies on board using HPC. But we are now also looking one step further, because when they start to actually use it for themselves, in many cases they quickly come to the issue of training. They need some support, tutorials, whatever, for their employees to understand what they have to do. And in this context, we got a project funded by the European Social Fund, ESF, to support industry in general, not only the smaller ones, but also the larger ones, setting up a modular training environment, a vocational training environment, targeting industry, to become HPC experts. In whatever that means, there are different flavors of experts, and different companies have often different needs. So we are producing a modular environment with modules like parallel programming, simulation, optimization, but also one of the courses we are preparing is a basic course, so to get a general understanding of what HPC does at all. And in the next 2 years, until the end of 2020, we, in the framework of this project, will develop all these courses. We started already this year with our parallel programming course. And in the end, we hope to have an offering that can, well, be then an official offering of the HLRS, the computing center, towards industry to learn whatever they need to know for their business in a way that is compatible with the employment of the people. So that's something like, we say 10 hours per week in addition to their daily job is okay. They do this for 3 months, and then in the end they can get a certificate and can be a certified, so to speak, HPC expert. But what is more important is that it's really helpful in their everyday business, and well, in the end the company pays the bill, so they want to get something out of it, and that's what we are targeting.
I understand correctly, you say that it's best to approach people locally.
Yes, the Supercomputing Akademie is actually the German name. What we noticed is that the locality is really very, very helpful. So it starts with meeting. So people come from, let's say, an hour drive or 2 hours drive. More than that is already much more complicated. It's also a language issue, especially in small and medium-sized companies. Many people are still not so familiar with English, and if you have, let's say, a Swabian machine developer talking to, let's say, a Spanish computer science person, there are many things, distance, language, culture, which make it just a little bit more difficult to talk. So we said we want to keep these hurdles as low as possible. On the other hand, and that's where Fortissimo comes in, of course, the Spanish computer science expert, he can have probably exactly the right knowledge for the person on the Swabian, in the Swabian outback, but we can then bring them together. And then we have, let's say, a stable consortium with a local strong relationship, but also with a distant relationship that's managed by the partners, by HLRS and us.
Okay. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you. You're welcome.
For Premier Magazine, this was Attemen reporting.